The 2022 Major League Baseball season was an absolutely awesome year and a great season for a lot of teams and a lot of players. But not everyone achieved success and had a very good season in 2022. So today we're going to look at the 5 most disappointing players of the 2022 campaign. So let's get into it. What's going on, baseball fans? Jeremy Laracuente here for the Baseball Banter Broadcast. And as I said in the open, today we're going to look at 5 disappointing players in the 2022 season. So let's get into number 5. And the 5th player on my list is Marcell Ozuna of the Atlanta Braves. When you look at the season off the field that Marcell had, this was not a year to really be excited about. And when you look at how it turned out for the Atlanta Braves player, this is not going to be a season that he's really going to try to remember. I think that there's going to be some questions for the Atlanta Braves front office as to how they want to manage and deal with Marcell going forward. I think that there's going to be a lot of questions as to his stability in terms of being able to be a part of that Atlanta Braves franchise. So it'll be interesting that they go about this offseason and whether or not they look to add another outfielder DH type, or if they're going to continue on with this path with Marcell Ozuna. Next up on the list at number 4 is Joey Gallo. I think when you look at the season that Joey Gallo had, there was a lot of questions as to whether or not the pressure of playing for his favorite team, the New York Yankees, was too much for him. But he would be traded away to the Dodgers and still didn't have any sort of resemblance of the player that he was in Texas. I think going into his free agency season, we actually could possibly see him go back to Texas, a place where he was comfortable, where there was absolutely no pressure, and he could just go out and play the game of baseball. But in terms of what he was able to accomplish on the field, this was definitely a disappointing year for Joey Gallo and for both the Yankees and the Dodgers who employed his services. Number 3 on my list is the newest Detroit Tiger, Javier Baez. I think when you look at what Javi was supposed to be for the Tigers and what this signing was supposed to indicate for them was a changing of the guard. This was going to be a new heading towards the postseason, a new competitive team. And when you sign Javier Baez, this is the type of player that you were looking to get. Javi did not have that kind of season offensively or defensively. This was a man once known as El Mago, and while I think the magician with the glove that he is, he will get back to being, I'm not sure that offensively, especially in that kind of bigger ballpark that is Comerica Park in Detroit, is going to really be able to give him the offensive boost that he needs. I think that when you look at the comparison of the field that he played with in Wrigley and how much more hitter friendly it is, especially with the wind blowing out, with Comerica, and this is going to be a season that we're going to have to really see what he's going to be capable of providing for the Tigers in 2023, because right now it's not looking like a very good signing for the Tigers. As we look at the number 2 player on my list, it is the big money signing for the Colorado Rockies last offseason, Kris Bryant. Now, there's no doubt about it, injuries really took a big toll on Kris Bryant this season. However, there was a lot of questions, and we asked those questions here on the channel. When the Rockies made this signing for Kris Bryant, I wasn't sure that this was the right fit. To me, Colorado wasn't just one piece away from being able to be a contender in that very difficult, very competitive National League West division. Being able to bring in a guy like Kris Bryant and use up so much of your payroll on him really doesn't help the Rockies get to a position where they can compete regularly. To me, it was a really big question mark, especially given that they traded away so many of their talented superstars over the last several years, letting them go as free agents. It just really begged the question as to what the direction of the Colorado Rockies was supposed to be, where they were supposed to be headed. And bringing in a guy like Kris Bryant, that to me at this point is more of a secondary or even tertiary player at this point for a big time franchise. But when you look at what he is supposed to be for the Rockies, he's supposed to be the guy. And I don't know that we're going to see that Kris Bryant anymore. Hopefully he bounces back in 2023, has a healthy campaign, and gets back to that MVP form that we would see him with the Chicago Cubs all those years ago. Now, as we get into the number one most disappointing player of the 2022 season, this player didn't even play a single game in 2022, and it's Fernando Tatis Jr. Between the accidents, the wrist injury that he would have in the offseason, and then the steroid suspension, the performance-enhancing drug suspension, there's a lot of questions about Fernando Tatis Jr. and what he can actually do and mean for the San Diego Padres. We've seen the success that San Diego has had without him this season, and it's kind of hard to say and kind of crazy to believe, but a player of this caliber that was so talented, so highly regarded, could find himself in this position and making some really terrible decisions. Maybe the use of the performance-enhancing drugs was to try to rehab his injury, seeing that his team was heading towards the postseason and he wanted to be a part of it. Maybe it was trying to do different things of that nature to be able to get back to being on the field and being a part of this championship potential run with his team. But regardless of whatever the case may be, whatever the reason might be, there's no doubt about it that these foolish mistakes have really cost this player a big time, not only in terms of what his teammates view him as what the league views him as, but as fans of Major, what we were hoping he could be, the flair, the passion, the bravado. We were hoping that this could be a player that we could really truly rally around as baseball fans for a long time coming, to be the attitude that was enlisted of, let the kids play. This was something that was brought about because Fernando wasn't sticking to those kind of older unwritten rules of baseball. But now we have to question this player's integrity and his ability. What type of player are we actually going to see? Were the numbers that he was putting up inflated because of performance-enhancing drugs? Was this the first time? Has this been ongoing? All of these questions now lead to a very disappointing player, a disappointing fan base for Major League Baseball. This isn't the first time that we've seen a superstar of this caliber be caught using performance-enhancing drugs, but it doesn't make it any less impactful to us as a fan base of Major League Baseball to see what could have been a legendary superstar in the making in Fernando Tatis Jr. now have to be questioned for the rest of his career. Just how good is he, or is it all fabricated? But I want to hear from you guys. Let me know your thoughts. Who are your suggestions, your picks, your selections for the most disappointing player of 2022? Let me know that down in the comments, or find me over on Twitter at banter_baseball, and we can keep the conversation rolling. As we've stated recently on the channel, we have a new partnership with Lids. So make sure you click the link down in the show notes, the description below. If you want to keep it locked in to the entire GLMG family, you can do so by following our sister channels, WeSibs and the Granny Geek Show, and of course here on the Baseball Banter Broadcast by hitting the subscribe button on all three channels. For sticking around to this point, you head over to baseballbanterbroadcast.com. You can use the promo code BANTER to save 5% off your order. Keep it locked in all season long as we continue to look at the latest news, notes, and my personal thoughts, theories, and opinions on the game of Major League Baseball. Peace.